Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We've got a lot of stuff to do this weekend. So as you can see, I've got the track chains or rails cleaned, primed, and painted. They've been drying for about a week, so we're definitely good there. Today's goal is to try to get the track chains down, installed on the crawler. I've got new master pins and clips to put in, and I'll make kind of the first adjustment of the tension for the chains. I also was able to pick up the pads from the machine shop. I had the 1/2-inch holes drilled in them to accept the rubber pads, and I bought about $260 worth of hardware to bolt the track pads to the chains. So a lot of stuff going on this weekend. I'm definitely going to have to wire wheel, prime, and paint all of the track pads, so that's definitely a long, tedious job I'm not looking forward to, but a necessity to say the least. So it's been a while since I've done a video on the crawler, and I can't quite remember without looking back, but the yellow undercarriage has been installed on both sides. All new hardware, grease fittings, pretty much ready to accept the track chains. So once we get the track chains, I've found the easiest way. I kind of tried to think this out ahead of time. You can see how they crisscross here. So this one on the left is actually oriented in the correct direction, so I can just lower it down and I'll slide it along the ground. I actually pull it to the back, and I get part of the chain wrapped around so that I can actually kind of connect them here in the middle. I'll just take some strap wrenches and I hook into these holes here where the bolts go for the pads, and basically cinch them together and get the master bolt through. And here's the track pads. So this crawler here, being a 4-roller undercarriage, has 62 pads total, so 31 for each side. And here's a example of one of the pads. These two holes here are the original holes that the bolts go through to attach this grouser pad to the rail. And then this is kind of a rough outline of where my rubber pad is. And I had 2 1/2-inch holes machined into each one of these pads. You can see they've all got 4 holes now instead of the 2. So once today I'm going to go through and wire wheel all of these. Yes, all 62 pads have to get wire wheeled, not just the top, not just the bottom, but it's thick enough where I need to take the time to get the edges as well. So I'm not going to be super critical about this one. I really only have one main show I want to bring it to this year, and then basically we're going to use this thing. We're going to have some fun with it. So I do want to get most of the loose rust and scale and paint and stuff off, but again, I'm not going to be super OCD like I normally am. So that'll be another one of today's projects. I'm hoping I can get these rails on the crawler, all the pads wire wheeled down so that I can prime and maybe even paint by this evening. And that would give me till tomorrow for things to dry. I got hardener, so it'll dry nice and fast, hard and shiny. And I might even be able to put these pads on tomorrow, which would be awesome, because that just means we're one step closer to having this crawler move under its own power in the first time in, geez, who knows, probably 12 years. So let's see if we can make it happen. Alright, as always, I got a little ahead of myself, and I have a few more things I need to do before we can start putting all that together. But I just wanted to kind of go over this in case you didn't watch the videos when we took this apart. But basically, once we put the chain on, or the rail for the track system, we're going to have to adjust the tension of that track assembly, and that's done by using these adjusting nuts, which push and pull on this, which move the front idler wheel backwards to loosen or forward to tighten the chain. So you can see now I can grab this whole assembly. There's lots of play that I've left in here, and I can slide the whole thing forward or back, and that's where you make your track tension adjustment, if you will. So anyway, everything's together and bolted and everything's fine, but in the back here there's a piece that I'm missing. I'll show you that right now. Alright, so in this back section here, you can see where I can kind of move these in and out, and it kind of slides back and forth. There's a lot of play in there. So there's a bar that's supposed to go through the back that will keep this clamped in to keep basically this channel on the rail. I don't have those. There was one homemade one on one side of this when I took it apart, but it was just so rusted out. So I have to make some real quick. Basically, I got some threaded rod here. This is 7/16. It's a 36-inch piece. The problem comes where when the rod slides through these two holes, basically I'll have a washer and a lock nut on each side of this so I can adjust it and lock it in where I want. But going straight through, of course it's not going to hit now, but there we go. You can see where the idler wheel will roll on that. So basically we're just going to have to put a couple bends in it to kind of push this out and kind of loop around so that we don't have any metal rubbing on there. So let me make 2 of these real quick, one for each side, and then we'll go ahead and pull these rails down and get them on. Alright, well, put my safety gear on here, and it's nothing super critical about what we're doing with this thing. I don't have an original one to use as a template, so I'm just going to have to kind of wing it. But anyway, so here's our 36-inch piece of 7/16 all thread. Got it at Home Depot. Measured the middle. I need 2 of them, one for each side, so we'll start with the 2 pieces. Alright, so now I have 2 equal pieces, and basically I'm going to start my bends from the middle and work my way out, and that'll ensure that, you know, I don't have one that's too long or too short, and once I get to the end of it, we'll cut off each side to the proper length, whatever it needs to be. So, well, that was even less technical than I thought it was going to be. I didn't even have to heat them up. So basically I just used this part of my crawler blade to you know, put the rod in and just bend it down. So basically I've got 3 simple bends, and that'll be enough to get me to clear that idler wheel. So here's just a quick overview of it. Basically line the rod up with these holes, and this will get centered, and you can see there's plenty of clearance here. Again, I'll put a washer and a lock nut on each side of this, and that'll allow me to adjust it and make any, you know, fine-tuning things that I need to do. So that's it. So I'm just going to make another one of these for the other side, and we'll move on. And here's the finished product. So like I said, I've got a washer and a nut on each side. I can adjust as needed. Plenty of clearance here. The idler wheel won't hit, and we can adjust the opening or closing, if you will, of the back part here, the idler wheel. And after a little more thought, I decided to replace the outside nuts with lock nuts on the inside and on the outside as well. So, all right, a little bit of a delay in time here today. I actually had to swap the idler from left to right, right to left. So, you know, buying these projects, you find that, well, you find all the mistakes of the person who owned it before you, right? So at some point inside of this undercarriage, they had welded some, geez, it's probably almost half-inch thick diamond plate steel to support it. Why, I'm not sure. There's no cracks or bends anywhere, but needless to say they did. Well, when this idler bearing housing sits inside between these 2 rails, it's supposed to have a lot of clearance. Well, being as they welded in an extra inch worth of metal almost, the idler wheel was riding up on top, and it just wouldn't sit right. I ended up swapping them because I realized that they had already ground the bearing housing on the other idler. So needless to say, we're good, but I took about an hour out of my time. So I'm going to go ahead and pull down the chains for the track system, and just the way they're set up, this right hand one I'm going to bring under first, then I'll bring a left hand one under, and just for video purposes, because it's easier to video on that side, we'll put that left side together, show you how to put the master pin in with the clip, and how to get the tracks adjusted roughly for where they are now. We'll have to make adjustments after the pads are on and once we drive around a bit and everything. So anyway, let's pull these heavy chains down. And I always make jokes about how I need to find a different hobby, like fly fishing or basket weaving or something that doesn't involve heavy tonnage of steel, right? So these trap chains are no different. I mean, when they're hanging here, you know, it seems pretty light, but I don't even know what they weigh each, but it is a lot once you start moving them around. So basically, I have them hung up here with ratchet straps, just to make for ease of painting. So take some tension off with this, lower this side down, the back end. Now, like I said, I had already kind of predetermined which direction these needed to face for ease of getting them under the crawler and making sure they were obviously right side up, but also the right direction. The pads that I'm going to eventually get to wire wheeling today only bolt on one way. So if you put this chain on backwards, the Grouser pads are going to be on backwards, and then everyone's going to point out that you got your tracks on backwards. So anyway, so this is just kind of how I do it. There's, I guess, 1,000 ways to skin a cat, but this seems to be the easiest way to work on these rails and be able to get a decent paint coating, you know, all the way around. So try to let gravity and Mother Nature work for you and work smarter rather than harder, which doesn't always happen when I'm doing this stuff. But let's see if we can't. Not even sure as though I want to do that. Let's see, let me try to move some of this forward here. And of course, you know, it's freshly painted. Me being OCD, last thing I want to do is have the paint get ruined. Alright. Oh man. Alright, it's 2 out of 3. And then move this camera a bit. Maybe you can see me, maybe you can't. I don't know, I'll get this last one down though. Again, I don't know what they weigh, but they're not light. Alright. Phew. Alright, like I said, I had positioned these so that they'd be in the correct orientation. When you get a rope, tie it to the back one, slide it under. So, like I said, I'm just going to use this ratchet strap hook, hook it on the back here, kind of position myself the back end of the crawler, and just slide her back. Alright, now I'll give myself a little slack, like I did it previously. And pull some more. Alright, pretty much the same thing. I'll just use this to relieve some of the pressure off this side. Where I undo the ratchet. And then we can lower in a somewhat controlled fashion. Let me get this a little tension out of here. This here. In this middle section. I don't typically recommend wrapping anything around your hand, but I know it's not that heavy. Come on. nuts off. Let this down. Alright. And this one here, I'm just going to grab and manhandle it. I'll be alright. Alright, let's pull it through. Hook on and pull it. Doesn't matter. Rope, strap. You don't even have to. You can reach down and get it. But pull it back. See, I think I'm going to open this. Give myself some more room. That's about good. Now, that's the one bad thing about having the fenders on right now. Makes it a little harder to get this on. Close this. Alright. So that's about where I want it. It's in the open, so I can connect the two together. I do want to make sure that the rail is on the sprocket, and I can pull the slack out from the front now. There we go. Alright, just make sure your pins are engaged with the sprocket. Looks to be alright. And basically what we're going to do is take this part of the rail and wrap it around. And then I'll get a couple ratchet straps, draw them together, and put the pin through. Watch your toes inside me. So I've got the rail hooked on the sprocket in the back, and basically the slack is running underneath the crawler, around the idler, and back to the front. So you can see I've hooked 2 ratchet straps, one on each side, just through the bolt holes. And I did the same thing back here on the sprocket. And I've left a link or two of loose on this end and a couple links loose on the back end. If you hook right to the front ones, one, you're gonna run out of strap, and two, it's just gonna make it harder to work to get the pin in. So basically, I'm just gonna tighten down on these straps until I get these links to each other. And then I've got some brand new master pins and clips, and we'll go ahead and put them in. If you want, you can always put these in the freezer or in some ice, and maybe they'll kind of shrink down a little bit for ease of getting in. But I mean, let's face it, my rail system's so wore slap out that it's going to go right in. It's going to be like throwing a hot dog down the hallway. Of course, I say that, and I'll probably get it stuck. Slight change of plan. So it's been a while since I've done one of these, and I think the last time I did this was in the garage, and I think I even took it off the cribbing at that point and set the rollers down on the chain, and it really gets rid of a lot of the slack that's in there. Now I do have my springs adjusted quite a bit in, so there is a lot of slack in the chain. I think the easiest, watch fingers, easiest thing for me is going to be to get the 2 open ends lined up on the sprocket. So I've got it in gear right now, so once I get this bottom one on and kind of held in place, I can use the ratchets to pull the top one over. You know, this link is on one hole in the sprocket or one groove, and then the one on this side of the chain is just the next one up. So plenty of slack in here. I just need to pull it over one more link and we can get the pin through. I did put both the pins in some ice water concoction here, so hopefully it'll make it go in a little bit easier. I do just want to see if I've got enough oomph here where I can just pull this thing over. That would be ultimately the best thing to do. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get the ratchet strap. No big deal. All right, let's hook this thing up here. Let's see. Nice if I could pull from behind here. Let's see. Let's grab here and go over to the fence. Use that as a pulling point. All tangled up. All right. Let's see. Let's try from here. I should probably use the ratchet side for there. Put this on my fence post. All right. Let's slide this in. Where was I at? This one here. Try that out. All right. Then I'll get one on this side as well. Same thing. So basically, we'll let the ratchet straps do the work to get the chain tension off here. And again, watch your fingers, but see if we can slide this over one tooth. I think I have a bar somewhere. There we go. Sometimes it's better to use things instead of your fingers. So I like to keep my fingers. Let's see if we can pop this over. Alright. Almost there. Pull a little more. Get some more on this one here. I think we're pretty close. Almost there, not quite. I might need to get a bigger strap wrench. I could try putting some wood under the rail to pull out some more slack. Like I said, I think last time I set this down on the ground to do this. I really don't want to do that right now because it's much easier putting the grousers on with it on the cribbing. So it's close. It's right there. Let's see if we can get a little more slack out of this. I might have to try to loosen up the spring some more. Give me a minute here. So as always, I had to fight with this thing. I think the real problem ended up stemming from the inside idler tensioner spring. I think got swapped from the other side, and I cannot get it to loosen anymore. So I really ended up having to put a lot of tension on these ratchet straps to pull these together. The pin went in fine, no issue there. And I believe it's through enough that we can get this clip on. So it's basically just a little clip, C-clip clip, and I'll use these spreaders to spread it open a bit and get it on the track pin. I did grease the pin thoroughly before I jammed it through the, see if I can get a little tappy tap action on here. Before I jammed it through the link. Watch fingers. Let's try opening it up a little more. Anyway, it went through fine once I was able to get the links onto the same sprocket groove, you know. So anyway, that's it there. I'm gonna go get a little, maybe I can use this punch here. Just want to make sure that clips seated inside the groove of the pin. Looks pretty good, actually. So anyway, all right. Now that that one's in, I can take the tension off this. And got our first rail on. So it's pretty crazy that you got to pull these things so tight. I even put some blocks of wood underneath, and even after that, it's still pretty loose. So anyway, track link number 1 complete. You zoom in a little bit here so you can see that clip in there. And then on the other side, you can see there's a lot of grease on here. Let's see if I got a rag. So you can see that it's a flat on 2 sides of the bolt, and it sits inside these basically catchers or keeps on the rail so that it doesn't spin. You don't want the main track link bolt spinning. So anyway, that's it. That's it. All that holds these together is a little clip and a pin. So back up over here and take a peek real quick. Starting to look like a crawler again. So anyway, that's it for this side. Got everything pretty much set where I want. I'll adjust the nuts on the idler wheel tension springs and get everything set. Again, once we get the grouser pads and rubber pads and all that on, we're gonna have to adjust the track tension again anyway, but at least we're there. Got this side on, so I'm gonna keep working here and put this side on. Hopefully this side doesn't fight me as much, but we're getting there. My original intent of getting all these pads wire wheeled, primed and painted today probably isn't going to come to fruition. There's no sense doing that if I haven't got these rails on yet, and just wanted to get this part done, get it out of the way. So we'll see how it goes. I'll work this afternoon on cleaning them up. Maybe I'll do a little more tomorrow, and maybe we can get them painted tomorrow. You know, I'm really not going to try to rush this. I do want it to look nice and all, so. But just goes to show that even when you plan things out and, you know, things don't always go as you think they will. You know, you always have to account for more time, which I never do. So anyway, lesson that I just keep learning over and over again. But anyway. All right, well, got both track chains on. Took way longer than I thought it was going to. I've been messing with this for the good part of the day. It's all good though. It's part of the fun, right? Part of the hobby. So yeah, I had to swap both front idlers, as you know. Had to make the little brackets in the back for both idler frames. Obviously moving the chains and getting everything lined up to get the master pins through. And then I just spent the last half hour, 45 minutes tightening up the nuts on both sides of the idler wheel on both tracks to get the chain tension where I want it for right now. So yeah, so that's good. I guess I can consider that a win. You know, getting these on is no easy feat, and they're both on, and knock on wood, so far everything looks okay. So you know, I'll save the pads for tomorrow or another day. I'm pretty pooped, but I do want to start this, and I do want to put it in gear and see both tracks turn, you know, just kind of to check the alignment, right? You can kind of see how the idler wheel is aligned up inside the chain. If I need to make any adjustments, you know, you can adjust basically the angle of these idler wheels by the tensioner springs. I've never really had an issue with that. They look like they're pretty much centered, but you don't really know until things start turning. So I'm gonna crank her up. We'll put her in gear, we'll let everything turn, kind of keep an eye on things, see how it looks, and then, you know, check the steering clutches and see how things are looking there as well. So keep your fingers crossed. All right, here goes nothing. Mind you, it's still on cribbing, so it's not touching the ground, it's not going to move. I haven't started this thing in a while, and I hadn't started it since I had cleaned the tank and put the tank back in, so it might take a little bit to get the carb filled up. see. I don't think we'll need choke, but. Well, that's good. That's good, I guess, right? It's good. I mean, it works. Tracks didn't fall off. Need to make a little bit of an adjustment. I will show you what I'm talking about here. So, if you look straight down between here, you can see that there's a little bit more of a gap here than there is here. So I need to, let's see, I believe I need to turn the idler wheel this way, and this one's even worse. This one here is hard up against this inside here, and there's enough room for my finger on this side. So those are the things that are easy to do now before we get the track pads on and get too involved in it. We want to try to get them as centered as possible, because you know, obviously you've seen my undercarriage and my chains and rails are wore out. I mean, here you can even see the bushing through the sleeve there. But anyway, so yeah, you want to try to get everything as close to possible, or close to, you know, perfectly aligned as possible, to prevent throwing a track. Because I guarantee you, you don't want to be in the middle of a field somewhere, or you know, just anywhere away from home or the trailer and have a track fall off. I had one track fall off one time at the end of my driveway, and that was enough excitement for me. So anyway, pretty good. You can see, I don't know if you saw in the video, when I first started it, I was letting the tracks roll in first gear, and I was pulling back on the steering clutches to stop the tracks. And at first, neither of them were working. And then the right one started to, clutch would disengage to stop the track for steering. And the left one I had a real hard time with. You could probably, I don't know if you could see me, probably not doing the controls, but when I'd pull that left steering lever back, you could hear the engine kind of bog down. So basically what was happening there was the clutch wasn't disengaging, but the brake was starting to engage. So it was starting to drag down the motor, right? So basically just had to kind of keep working it, and eventually it freed up, and now they both worked just fine. So just another thing to know, if you have one of these crawlers, or if you plan on getting one, or if you're buying one that's been sitting for a long time, is you got to use them, right? Even if it's just come out, start it up, drive it around for a little bit, even if it's just in a small area back and forth, because when they sit, that's when things start to go wrong, right? The steering clutches start to freeze up. And the last thing that I want to do right now is go back in and tear these final drives apart for a new clutch that's frozen and not working because I haven't been using it. So, you know, that's one of the drawbacks of a project taking a long time, is it does start to affect other things. So I did like to, I do usually come out and start it, at least run it. And before I put the track grousers on, or the chains, I would put it in gear and let everything turn, but you know, it's just one of those things. Anyway, I'm glad it freed up. Last thing I want to do is take that final drive off again. So yeah, we're doing pretty good. It's starting to look like a crawler. So yeah, track chains are on, everything works, up test sat. I'm going to make some adjustments to these front idler wheels to get them better aligned, and then yeah, start working on this train wreck right here. Talk about a tedious, boring job, but it's got to get done, and it'll look good when it's done. So anyway, that's about it. I appreciate you watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Hit the like button, leave a comment, anything. Interaction's great. Give me some ideas. Let me know what you're thinking. What did I do wrong? So anyway, that's about it. So enjoy your weekend. I appreciate you watching. Peace.